This is a story about the most recognised face in the world. It's a story of consumption, cattle and clowns. But more than anything, this is a love story. In 1963, McDonald's restaurants were spreading across the United States like some kind of greasy rash. Ray Kroc had taken Richard and Maurice McDonald's name, restaurant, and speedy service system and transformed America's kitchens into mind-frying assembly lines. This was the age of the convenience consumer, where the logic of the factory floor was transported to the service industry for the first time. People wanted their stuff and they wanted it fast and cheap, which was great for McDonald's because they could get one of their bread-wrapped cow discs in your hand faster than you can say triple bypass surgery. But the real key to McDonald's early success was how they set up new franchises. Purchasing the land that their restaurants would be built on, and then leasing it out to their own employees, / independent business owners, / feckless rubes. In less than 2 decades, McDonald's was already looking like an American institution. But while the adults were grease-frying beef and napalm-frying Vietnamese civilians, their kids were watching Bozo, the most famous clown in the world.
Bozo, Bozo, always laugh, never frown.
Much like McDonald's itself, the Bozo concept was cooked up in the 1940s, sold by its original creator, and then franchised out by the person who bought it. So while every television-adjacent child in America watched Bozo, they all watched their own local Bozo on their own local TV station. In Washington, DC, he was played by Willard Scott, who was hired by the capital's local McDonald's to star in a new, clown-centered commercial for the branch. And lo, a star was born.
Here I am, kid. Hey, isn't watching TV fun? Especially when you got delicious McDonald's hamburgers.
Willard's first interpretation of the character certainly had Ronald's signature energy, but he looked less like a circus clown and more like some dumpster-dwelling vagrant.
Especially when it comes to eating those delicious McDonald's hamburgers. A magic tray here keeps me well supplied. McDonald's hamburgers, french fries, and milkshakes.
Scott's trash-wearing, space-faring clown only appeared in 3 commercials.
Isn't that McDonald's hamburger delicious?
Mom told me never to talk to strangers.
Well, your mother's right as always, but I'm Ronald McDonald. Give me a McDonald's shake.
Yeah, kid, don't worry. I'm just the clown representative of your favorite eat hole. Now get in the van. But when McDonald's decided to roll the character out nationally, they dropped Scott from the role as he had reportedly gotten too fat. And shockingly, the company didn't want a garbage-wrapped fatberg to represent their trash-wrapped fatburgers. The times were getting all a-changey. Ronald was sharing the screen with the 1960s, wedged between Star Trek, Malcolm X, and smelly hippies. And despite being the face of a faceless cow-mincing corporation, Ronald kind of fit in with the counterculture of the time. He was new, different, and his red and yellow contrasting colour scheme was kinda trippy, man. And while stoned-out future Trump voters were certainly a receptive audience, he was really for the kids. McDonald's soon found out that children were the best customers you could ever ask for.
Get yourself ready for a trip through McDonald land. Take along a friend and grab a hold of Ronald's hand.
In January 1971, Ronald took residence in McDonald's Land, an acid-trip storybook world that was made of and populated by McDonald's products.
And big cheese. There's thick shake volcanoes. You'll even find a French fry thatch.
The McDonald Land commercials were an instant success and accompanied the corporation's strongest period of domestic growth. Many of the early commercials focus on Ronald foiling various villains who try to steal McDonald's menu items, like the amorphous purple bowling pin known as Grimace. Originally, he was portrayed as a soda-stealing villain with 4 arms, but in later appearances his extra limbs were amputated, apparently along with his brain.
What are you doing? Hanging around till dinner time. It's time. Oh, goody.
After his lobotomy, Grimace was better behaved and was generally portrayed as Ronald's dim-witted friend / pet. The Hamburglar, however, proved to be a more reliable foil. A mono-toothed petty thief who was always jonesing for his next bag of beef. a habit that was made slightly off-putting by the fact that McDonald's land was also populated by many sentient hamburger citizens. Like McDonaldland's elected leader, a beef-brained humanoid known as Mayor McCheese.
Or a book of 10 for $5 at McDonald's, you know.
Or Officer Big Mac, a strange choice of profession for a burger that is famously made with no bacon or pork products of any kind. Yo, fuck 12. Fuck the Pig Mac.
7 great ingredients working together to make one great taste. 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, cheese, lettuce, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Get the idea?
2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun.
This brain-jacking jingle was a masterstroke. It appealed to all ages, but it proved a particularly potent challenge for the 4-foot and unders.
Lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, lettuce, cheese, pickles, oh, what am I saying?
The jingle also highlighted what adults liked about the Big Mac, the sheer amount of shite it contained.
2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun.
The Big Mac is less a culinary achievement and more a feat of beef architecture. And with its inception, McDonald's and the Western world entered the new age, the era of hyperconsumption, where value was found in volume. In the late 1970s, portion sizes increased, prices went down, and the styrofoam packaging was designed to outlive the heat death of the entire universe. The world loved McDonald's, and by this time, Ronald was becoming one of the most recognized faces in the world. Then in 1978, children's performer and serial killer John Wayne Gacy was found guilty of the murder of 33 men and boys. The media dubbed him the Killer Clown because of his persona, Pogo the Clown. I don't really know why I'm mentioning this, I'm sure it won't be relevant later. By the 1980s, McDonald's was unstoppable, and Ronald spent the decade building a multimedia empire, starring in full-length cartoons, video games, and even making his feature film debut in Mac and Me, a famously shit E.T. ripoff featuring this fetus puppet made of impacted earwax and this dance number that looks like it was vomited over by McDonald's marketing executives. But Ronald was never more successful than when he was hawking the Happy Meal, an enormously successful menu item that had nothing to do with the food it contained. It's all about the present-shaped box and the toy inside. Welcome to my unboxing video. It's not bad actually. Yeah, it's pretty good. Ronald and the citizens of McDonaldland were rolled out as Happy Meal toys themselves. In fact, Ronald-based toy promotions had been going for a while, like this Show Me on the Ronald Where the Clown Touched You doll.
You can squeeze them, you can tickle them, you can take them any place, and they go right on smiling.
Throughout the 80s and 90s, Ronald would present the next batch of Happy Meal toys, released in collectible sets, in short, heavily promoted windows, inspiring multiple visits and tantrums from every child forced to drive past the Golden Arches when they were just one grimace away from a complete set. Toy promotions like this were incredibly successful, doubling and even sometimes tripling average weekly sales figures. Whichever marketing executive came up with it should be given an award, and then promptly shot in the head. In the early 90s, 2 gigantic markets opened up for McDonald's: ex-Soviet countries and emerging Asian economies. And Ronald led the global invasion. Thousands waited for hours to eat at Beijing's first McDonald's in 1992, and only a few years later, every child in a Beijing school could recognize Uncle McDonald. In 1994, a 7-mile car queue waits for the first McDonald's to open in Kuwait. The first Indian McDonald's opens in 1996, sans beef, naturally, and by 1998, there were 20,000 McDonald's restaurants worldwide. We were living in a McWorld. Man may be born free, but everywhere he's in fast food chains. I didn't write that line, I stole it from this book. It's good, isn't it? But McDonald's rapid growth came at a cost. Franchises were built so often and in such close proximity that managers in the US complained that they were competing with one another. And Ronald's omnipresence in child-focused media was getting a little obvious. That clown was fucking everywhere. In 1998, he even got his own TV show, The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald, from the studio that gave us Rugrats and from the restaurants that gave us childhood obesity. In the late 90s, people were progressively aware that a fast food heavy diet could make you fat, sick, and dead by 50. And Ronald was being seen for what he was, a burger salesman and a child inflator. So in the new millennium, McDonald's decided to distract the general public from graphs like this by shaking salad in their face.
Wow, that's quite a salad.
Who's shaking up everything you know about salad?
They were attempting to emulate the success of Subway, who had somehow convinced the world that their processed garbage loaves were healthy because they contained a fistful of leaves. And while Ronald was a fictional character that preyed on children, Subway's mascot was a real guy. Despite penny-pinching tactics like not paying for their employees' healthcare, in 2002 the McDonald's Corporation suffered its first quarterly loss. And over the next few years they lost hundreds of millions of dollars and closed over 200 underperforming restaurants. McDonald's knew they had to act fast, redesigning nearly all of their restaurants in a desperate attempt to shake things up and attract attention. Ugh, it's hot in here. It's a heat wave going on at the moment. The supersize option was taken off the menu and was replaced by healthier, shittier items that no one really wanted. But they weren't meant to be eaten, they were meant to improve the company's public image. McDonald's also launched a devastating assault on the sovereign state of McDonaldland. Characters like the Hamburglar, Mayor McCheese and the mop-head testicle twins were never seen again. Ronald remained, but he took on a reduced role. Finally, the company launched their I'm Loving It campaign, simultaneously in over 100 different countries. They continued to report losses, but their health and lifestyle makeover was working. Then their CEO died of a massive heart attack at the National Franchise Convention. Not ideal. But that was merely a PR speed bump, as I'm Loving It captured the spirit of a new era. This is the age of the identity consumer, where we say no to all that wasteful, unhealthy stuff and say yes to products and services that affirm us as special and unique individuals who buy all the same shit. Fictional mascots were phased out for real people and relatable experiences. Ronald was brought out in some hyperactive, health-focused stunts, but now he was playing second fiddle to a slogan and a jingle. A whistle. It's more a whistle. In 2010, Subway eclipsed McDonald's as the most common fast food chain in America. However, the Golden Arches had returned to full profitability, but Ronald was appearing less and less. McDonald's signed a new deal with Disney, giving them access to a legion of cartoon salesmen untainted by Ronald's greasy legacy. And much like Disney's Mickey Mouse, it looked like Ronald was getting ready for a quiet retirement as a symbolic mascot and occasional logo. But then, in 2016, the whole world lost its fucking mind.
There's a clown in my woods beside my house.
A what?
Yes, there have been dozens of reports of threatening clowns.
Police have their hands full with these possible sightings.
That's right, 2016 was the year of the killer clown, or more accurately, the year of teenagers and criminals dressed as killer clowns. It began as a viral marketing stunt by a Wisconsin filmmaker, which was in turn at least partly inspired by YouTube's own DM Pranks channel. Solid content there, you pricks. It then famously spread to Greenville, South Carolina, and by October, creepy clown franchises were setting up across the globe. The Circus of the Damned had pulled into town, and that town was Earth. Clowns were seen chasing motorists with knives, sneaking around schools and just generally scaring the bejesus out of people. Clown panic spread too. Target and other supermarkets pulled clown costumes from their inventory. And news outlets even got excited about the idea of a clown-initiated purge event. It was at this point that McDonald's decided to announce that their clown would take a little step back from the limelight. lest he be grouped in with all these forest-dwelling organ harvesters. Eventually the clowns did go away, presumably driving off in an improbably small and terrifying car, and Ronald was along for the ride. Since 2016's Clownpocalypse, the man in the yellow overalls has been missing. McDonald's claim that he is in the background working on stuff, but it looks like the company used 2016's simulation glitch to bury the clown for good.
Aha! This is where I get off.
Thanks for watching. This one was kind of weird, really fun to put together. I'm going to be uploading more frequently in the next couple weeks, so hit that bell so you can be notified when they're coming. I want to give a big, sincere thank you to all my patrons, especially you guys who have been with me for nearly a year now. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now without your support, and yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to be doing this for a long time, so yeah, peace out.